What kind of God sits in heaven and sees such suffering? Moses met God the first time at what's known as the burning bush. Moses sees this bush that's burning with fire but not being consumed. Strange phenomenon. Fire is meant to consume, but yet the fire is burning and the tree is not burning. He approached this burning bush when he hears a voice from heaven. Moses, take off your shoes. You are standing on a holy place. And Moses says, who are you? And God answers, I am God. And he says, Moses, I am appointing you to go to Egypt and to talk to Pharaoh and to tell him to let my people go. Moses responds and says, I have a speech impediment. I am not capable of doing this. And God's response was, the one who gave you life, who has given you lips, who has given you a voice, is telling you that you can do this. And then Moses asks a question. He says, when I get to Egypt, they are going to ask me what your name is. What should I tell them? And God answered, what will be, will be. That is who I am. And Moses says, fine. I'm in. I'm taking the task. And so Moses went on to Egypt. But this whole episode begs some explanation. Here Moses is being given a task of all time. And how did Moses know what questions the Israelites are going to ask him? How did he foresee that the only question they're going to have is, what is your name? How did he know that's going to be their question? Maybe they had many other questions. How did he know that that is the question that the Israelites would have? So in 1982, Rabbi Schneerson, my Rabbi, explained this in a very poignant way. And this is something that we are to relate to every day of our life, through the thick and thin. That Moses was asking God, not just for your name, what his label is, what he's called by. Moses was asking God, when I'm going to tell the Jewish people that there is a God in heaven, they're going to ask me, what kind of God sits in heaven and watches Pharaoh bathe in the blood of the little children? What kind of God sits in heaven and watches the torture for 210 years of his children of Israel? What kind of God sits in heaven and sees such suffering? And the Rebbe continued on. What kind of God sits in heaven and watches the inquisitions, watches the pogroms, watches the Holocaust, watches the calamities that have befallen us over the millennia? What am I going to tell them? Who's this God? And the Rebbe explained, this was God's answer. I am the God in heaven that is with you now and is always with you. I'm not a God who's just in heaven, detached from what you're going through. When you are in pain, I am in pain. When you are suffering, I am suffering. And lest you know that I am always there with you. Through the hardest of times, through the most difficult times, through all the suffering and pain that you go through, I will never abandon you. I have not abandoned you. I will always be there with you, for you. And that is what God told Moses of who God is in heaven. Why do bad things happen to good people? One of the biggest questions. Why the Holocaust? Why the Spanish Inquisitions? Why all the expulsions from all the countries? Wherever we settled, we were driven out. We could ask why? We are not God. We're not capable of understanding the why. We are capable of understanding that God loves us and God is with us. God pains as we are in pain. Although we cannot understand the why, we do understand that we are not alone, that God is always with us.